Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Midweek Program at the J.C. Raulston Arboretum. My name is Blake, and I'm the education assistant here at the Arboretum, and today we are in the Japanese garden because it is a very peaceful, relaxing, a very zen atmosphere. We've got a program for you today all about therapeutic horticulture. We've got our director of horticulture, Greg Paige, here, who you all know and love, but we are also joined by a special guest, Miss Amy Bruzzichesi, who is the manager of the Therapeutic Horticulture program at NC State. We've got Greg and Amy here to talk all about therapeutic horticulture, what it is, how it can benefit the world, how it may even benefit you. So it should be a really wonderful program, and we are grateful to have Amy here with us. Those of you watching this on YouTube, please like this video and subscribe to our channel, and feel free to leave a comment down below. And with the announcements out of the way, I will pass things over to Greg and Amy to tell us a little bit about therapeutic horticulture.
Awesome. Thank you, Blake. Thanks for joining us, y'all. I have one little disclaimer here. I've got a little bit of a chest cold. I have my emergency cough drop right here in case the worst happens. I can pull the ripcord and pop that in and I'll be fine. But I had to get it ready just in case. That way I won't need it. This program is a part of my passive aggressive means to get to know this this wonderful community we have at NC State. And I always have these ideas floating around, and thank you, Blake, for getting this one up and running and signed up.
Truth be told, this idea came from our Croatian interns,
Yes.
Max and Lana. They were interested in learning more about the mental health benefits of plants. So
Yes.
thank you to them as well.
That's been a topic that I'm going to wax poetic for a minute.
Go for it.
I'm fresh from a public garden conference where my focus, my entire career has been plant collections and plants. And I think I'm at a place in my life, as Blake talked about all the benefits of plants and people and gardening and having a relationship with plants in the green world. That's become a lot more passionate of me. And we were talking a little bit about that and meeting with people and discussing these things. So I'm tickled and excited that you're here. I'm also tickled and excited that we have an Alabama connection. I won't go into that, but those connections are rare and to be celebrated. So I'm very excited about that. Way back in my career, when I started 30 plus years ago, there was a hort therapist on staff at the Holden Arboretum. And that is one of my regrets in college is that's an area of horticulture I wish I would have had the opportunity to study and find out more about. But it's never too late to learn.
Absolutely.
That opportunity is ripe and for the picking at all times. So I'm excited to have you here.
Thanks.
And I've got a good list of questions to keep things going. And we will save time at the end for questions that y'all might have. So put your thinking caps on and think about some things that will stir questions in you. But the first thing I want to ask for myself and for our audience, what would you say is the best definition of your job and your role with NC State? And I learned something about your connection with UNC. Yeah. So please tell us what best describes what you do and what you do with NC State.
Yeah, so maybe placing me there might help. So I'm in the College of Agriculture and Life Science, Department of Horticultural Science, Cooperative Extension, and then Consumer Horticulture. So four layers down, that's where I've landed in therapeutic horticulture. And all that means is that I have an awful lot of support for what I do at NC State as the Therapeutic Horticulture Program Manager. It's a fairly new position. It's only been there for 2 years, and that's how long I've been in that role.
Okay.
The program is older than that, but
Yes.
our involvement ramped up a couple years ago when I started as the program manager. And in that role, my primary responsibility is administering, developing, marketing, and co-instructing the 4-course series in therapeutic horticulture. That is an online series, and we have had students from all over the world join us, which is kind of amazing. It started as an in-person initiative over at our program partners, the North Carolina Botanical Gardens in Chapel Hill. And in that iteration of the program, it was a Saturday, once a month, twice a month program for about 20 people that would come to the garden over there and learn from the resident horticultural therapist how they might take it back to their fairly local North Carolina communities. Well, as we all know, in March of 2020, a lot of in-person options closed for
Yes.
an unspecific amount of time.
Yes.
And the program had to pivot and go online to help those folks finish up their work, and then also to continue offering something to somebody. And out of that grew an opportunity to expand the program to people that maybe couldn't commit to Saturdays or couldn't commit to traveling to the garden, and being able to take the courses asynchronously online. Let people who were in a lot of different walks of life explore this as an option. So the courses developed into an option for working professionals in a lot of different areas. So teachers, occupational therapists, social workers, people who were already working with people in some capacity could add therapeutic horticulture to their professional toolbox. And we also saw an opportunity to bring Master Gardener volunteers from Extension into the mix and have them in their volunteer roles be able to create programs and take those out to their communities. We have had students from both institutions and many other institutions, while they're still studying something as an undergraduate or graduate student, add these courses to their future professional toolboxes. So that's my primary role, is to take care of folks in these courses. We've had almost 800 students since 2020 join us from 45 different states and from 36 different countries. And it's amazing to hear all the different perspectives. Had a lot of people from public gardens join us, which is really exciting.
Yep. No kidding.
Because thinking about the potential for what they can do.
Our volunteer manager at the J.C. Raulston Arboretum, Catherine, she just put in the chat that she was one of the original 20 people in the program at NC Botanic Garden.
She was one of the on-site folks. Yeah. So it's been exciting to see it evolve. I am a graduate of the program that I am now teaching. I hold a certificate in the very first class of people that went through all 4 courses when it expanded to a certificate program.
Wow.
So it's wonderful. And then when I'm not teaching the courses and working with students, I am also, in my extension role, an outreach person. So I'm a resource for all 100 North Carolina counties. So the horticulture agents that are running maybe an Extension Master Gardener volunteer program and need some information on how their volunteers could start a program, could improve a program, could look at ways that their community could benefit from therapeutic horticulture, I can have a Zoom call with them. I can travel to their location and do some training. I can come and do a site visit on a program and make some recommendations if that's something that would be helpful. And then in Extension, the sky is the limit. In Extension, I have collaborations with many different state extension folks. So Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, South Carolina, Rhode Island, Ohio, California, Arizona, I'm leaving some out, unfortunately. But off the top of my head, those are collaborations that I've been a part of in the past couple of years. And that's just helping find people who are working in therapeutic horticulture through Extension and sharing what we know, because that's part of Extension, is sharing what we know.
No kidding.
So that's the rest of the story when I'm not teaching, is spreading the word about therapeutic horticulture.
That's a lot of stuff to keep up with.
A lot of stuff to keep up
Absolutely.
with.
Yeah. I love how, there's such a great community of gardens and organizations linked together. And I like all that transfer back and forth. That's something that I've been doing for 30 years and has become really important to me. But it's such a great thing to have access to that and to kind of spread that gospel kind of far and wide. So the next question that leads to is, what is therapeutic horticulture?
We should probably have started
we could have started with that, but just to kind of set the table on all the things that you do, it's like, here is the gist of it. Now, what's the why? What's the message?
What are we doing here? Yeah. And I'll also explain what it isn't, because that can be helpful too. So what the professional definition of therapeutic horticulture is, it's either the active or passive participation by a participant in garden-based or plant-based activities that are intentionally developed to help them move toward their wellness goals, either physical, physiological, cognitive, social, vocational, can be any one or a whole combination of those categories of goals. And it's using plants and gardens and green spaces as a tool to help people move toward where they want to be from where they are now. And we usually work in groups. It can be one-on-one individual, but we find that the social part is more achievable if we work together in a group. Some things that it isn't. It's not horticultural therapy. And some folks might think that the two terms are interchangeable, and you might hear people use horticultural therapy when they might really be talking about therapeutic horticulture.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So I like to clear that up.
Yes.
And I don't help matters. I'm both. I'm also a registered horticultural therapist. So I'm not the best example of separating those two things, because I do have that designation as well. So if we think about it as maybe a long banquet table, and everybody at the table is in the people-plant connection. The hort therapists are down at one end of the table. We can think of them in their white coats because they're clinical. That the horticultural therapy is a clinical practice. It requires several years of continuing education at the college level. You take special classes in horticultural therapy at the university level. We've got AHTA, our professional organization, has 14 accredited programs that people can choose from if they wish to become horticultural therapists. This summer, you can't be a registered horticultural therapist anymore. We're changing to a certification exam in the fall. So, so lots of information on their website about that. But it's a clinical practice that helps people move in a clinical setting with their goals as part of a treatment team. So you'll have maybe a doctor supervising the team, nurses, occupational, physical, speech therapists, maybe art therapists, maybe equine therapists, maybe horticultural therapists are part of that treatment team. And those are people that have complex clinical needs that are met in a place where people have had that extra training. So we can, if we're looking at sites where we might find this, if people need a license to practice, that's probably a horticultural therapy site.
Right.
The rest of the table, maybe the other 90% of us are the therapeutic horticulturists.
For sure.
We are out in the community. We are not in a clinical setting. We might go into a clinical setting, but our work is not clinical in nature. So we might be setting up in a library parking lot to do a therapeutic experience for the library patrons. It's a whole different ballgame. In a clinical setting, these areas are usually purpose-built. So you'll have grab bars, you'll have accessible pathways. Yep. It's kind of nice to be in a place that is already set up for safety, where a library parking lot is anything but.
You don't say.
So in therapeutic horticulture, in our courses and in our training, we spend a lot of time working on assessment for safety and planning for safety, because we understand that most of the spaces that we work in may have some inherent risks that if we just walk through as a non-therapeutic horticulturist, we might not notice that that things are not safe. So we spend a lot of time helping people to put that lens on and be able to see safety. But all that being said, it's the most inclusive part of the profession, because it can be anybody anywhere that can benefit from this practice. And we get to be out in a place like this.
Yeah. Thank you for clarifying that, because I'm very bad about interchanging both of those.
It's not uncommon at all.
And I know better, because I know people that straddle both sides of that are definitely one area and another. But there's a lot of overlap.
Yeah, there's a ton of overlap.
There's a ton of overlap in that world. Yeah. But I've been spreading wrong information. Surprise, surprise. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, no problem. Some other things that it's not just gardening together. So if we were to have two groups of people maybe working in garden plots, and one of them is a gardening group and the other is a therapeutic horticulture group, they might look identical.
Sure.
Identical. Maybe there's somebody facilitating the garden group working together and then a therapeutic horticulturist. So the gardening group, their objective is to get maybe a list of garden tasks done. Their focus is on the plants. They want to make sure that the plants are weeded and watered and harvested and everything looks good. And when they're done, maybe they're going to have some water and a snack together. Everybody feels better. There's nothing wrong with a gardening group. It's a great thing to do. We've all enjoyed a gardening group. Therapeutic horticulture group, we're all working with the plants. We're doing probably the same list of tasks, but the therapeutic horticulture practitioner has gone in and intentionally set goals for that group. So maybe the person setting up has made sure that the tools are just out of reach because they know that people in the group need to improve their stretching tolerance or their standing tolerance. So maybe things are just a little bit out of reach so that
there's intention.
There's intention with
Beautiful.
everything. Maybe the plant selections are deliberate so that somebody has to have a sensory, we're going to do that at the end, a sensory experience so that they'll release some of these really wonderful plant oils when they get into the garden and they've relaxed a little bit. Maybe they've focused the conversation in an educational tone so that people are learning something because that's one of the objectives. Maybe they have somebody passing the tools out because they need to be a little bit more social and have a micro conversation with the people that they're working with. So there's a lot more intentionality. The group may look similar, but that's what's happening in the group. And then
that sounds like every day with us working with volunteers.
I was gonna say, like, honestly.
I definitely pay attention to those things.
Right.
And you really have to be have your aura thermometer working.
Absolutely.
So you can kind of, and I try to do this with our volunteer groups and with tour groups too. Just kind of get a sense of who's taking what in, who needs a little more attention, who needs some more help. And sometimes it's just, you just need to stop what you're doing and go smell some flowers or touch some plants or see texture or go look at the water fountain in the white garden. And I was talking to one of our interns today, and they were talking about a volunteer who, it's like she didn't do a lot of stuff today. I was like, well, I think part of the reason she comes is the social side of it, is to interact with us and be around people and go visit her favorite parts of the garden. And to me, that's part of it.
Absolutely, that's part of it.
You're getting stuff done. It doesn't have to be work. It has to be refilling your cup and your meter. And that's always been super important to me is keeping an eye on that sort of stuff. And if we can do that at the end of the day, we've done something special, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Whether or not we're licensed or not, but the clarification was good. I desperately needed that.
No kidding.
The big question I thought of when I first learned that you were going to come with us and talk to us is who benefits from this. And that's kind of a broad question. And there's another question after that kind of links into it too. But that's kind of the basic is who benefits from this.
Yeah, I can't think of anybody who doesn't benefit from it.
Yeah.
So if we were talking about horticultural therapy, you pretty much need a diagnosis to be part of a program like that. Therapeutic horticulture, you don't. You need a human. Human is good, but it benefits people from throughout the lifespan and throughout the ability span too. So people from, as soon as they can express themselves in any way, they can benefit all the way. I think the oldest person that I worked with was 102 years old and absolutely enjoyed every minute that we were out in the garden together. People of all different abilities, people with lots of different challenges. We see programs that are really effective where people are maybe in a confined living space. So people that are in a group living space, like an assisted living maybe. College students, oddly enough, are in a confined living space, even though they've chosen to do that. Living in a dorm can be really stressful, and mental health is really important. And it's maybe something that college students don't address until it gets pretty far on in the need game.
Absolutely.
So being able to understand that that's something you take care of beforehand, rather than when it gets to a crisis point, can help them develop some coping skills. And therapeutic horticulture is wonderful for that. Working with people that are incarcerated, that's another confined living space where people maybe don't have choices that we take for granted day in and day out. A therapeutic horticulture program can offer them a few guided and safe choices so that they can have some meaning in their day. People that are in a situation where they're being taken care of most of their time. So people who have medical issues where they're receiving care all the time, being able to flip that and take care of plants and just have a situation where they are the caregiver even for a little while can just change their outlook and boost their mood and help them increase their wellness. Children benefit tremendously. That's not too hard to imagine. School-based programs in school gardens where maybe students have been identified as having attention issues or behavior issues. We can see those they don't necessarily go away entirely, but children change when they're outside in nature. They calm down and they pay attention and they focus on something that's just really interesting and learn something in the process. So yeah, it's hard to think of a category that doesn't benefit.
Yeah. And I think it's awesome that you go through and list all of these groups that can benefit from directly doing therapeutic horticulture. But I would argue that everybody benefits from therapeutic horticulture's existence, even if they're not interacting with it. Like just by normalizing the act of being aware of your wellness, going out into the garden, recognizing that that's something that's needed, that humans actually need to be a part of. Just making that a part of the culture when it's not really so much these days anymore. It really does just make that just letting people know that that avenue is there for them to pursue just really makes everything so much better.
It's nice that NC State has a great kind of renowned horticulture program, but I really think there's a lot more that we here at the Garden have to offer to the greater student community at NC State of this great green space to come and deal with mental health stuff.
Absolutely.
And NC State has been pretty good on embracing that with mental awareness. Like there's like a week or a couple days. I know we
have wellness days.
We have wellness days here, and we got a bus stop that brings people right to the front gates.
I was going to say, was it last year or 2 years ago? They started the bus stop from campus to get people right out here,
which was huge, just to open up that opportunity. So, lots of passive aggressive stuff going on here with me. That's a big one, is to get more students here.
Absolutely.
Just to unplug for an hour or a day, or to form those, some sort of habit of coming here, having a space like this that they come to, or a bench someplace or a chair someplace where, all right, that's my space. And I feel good when I'm here. And I'm going to come here after this horrible class that I hate on Tuesday and just kind of chill out. And then they bring somebody else and it starts this whole cascade. So that's my evil plan.
They've done research that there's a bench right over there. I don't think the camera can see, but if you can picture yourself on a bench and maybe come out here on the bus as a student, spend some time on that bench, and then you go and you're taking an exam, the next week, you can picture yourself in that space that you've actually been and get the same benefits, the same calming benefits, just by mentally putting yourself back in that space. But you have to have had that experience to be able to access that again.
You have to have those experiences. And I keep coming off this high of this garden conference where I was around so many positive people. One of the speakers at this conference talked about one of our missions in horticulture is to teach people to accept and have relationships with plants. That it's something that they can do and something that they should do, and the benefits therein of doing something that simple. And it really struck me, and it has stayed with me. Something else will come in my head as we get closer to moonlight or something. But it really struck me as like something so simple that I kind of take for granted because I'm here all the time. But it is something that we do, and something that you definitely do is teaching people that here's something you can have a relationship with that's going to do all these things. And talking about research, this always fires off in my head when I think about the therapeutic benefits of plants and interaction. Coming from an arboricultural background and doing a lot of work in places like Chicago, where they've done a ton of research that shows that the simple act of planting trees reduces crime in neighborhoods and builds a sense of community. I've got a friend that works for Penn Hort in Philadelphia. They've got tons of research in the same vein that shows that communities come together when they have these tree planting programs, and that spins off into gardens and other things like that. So that's a very much part and parcel of what we're talking about. The other question that's sort of related to what you just answered is, who would you say your primary audience is for what you do?
That's a great question. So for the courses that I teach, the primary audience is people who are already doing something in either the plant world or the human services world. We have, I would say it's almost an even split of students that are coming from the horticulture side or coming from the human services side. And therapeutic horticulture is what we call a binary field. You need to be proficient in both human services and in plant sciences.
Sure.
They're equally important. So
Yeah.
wherever that's one of the things we work on in the second course is everybody does a self-assessment
No kidding.
and figures out, and almost everybody has some areas where they can do a little bit more.
Absolutely.
So helping people find those resources so that if their plant knowledge needs to be reinforced,
Definitely.
we actually have a series in the department that's online for plant science. So people can take something like that. There's lots of resources for that. Human sciences, same thing, helping people get access to courses in psychology and social work, sociology, counseling, so that they're able to comfortably and confidently interact with people in a therapeutic setting. And we teach that in the courses as well, but it's always important to get as much knowledge as you can. So that we're, one of the first things in our code of ethics is to do no harm. So we want to make sure, even inadvertently, that we're always taking really good care of both the people and the plants that we're entrusted with.
We need a code of ethics.
Don't we?
I like that. I like the idea of that.
Honestly.
Yeah.
I like the idea of that. This question dovetails into all what you just said very, very nicely. What audience do you think most needs this the most? And is there a group that you wish you interacted with more?
Yeah.
And that either means going out to get them to work with, or them approaching you to get that help.
Yeah. I mean, in a perfect world, we would help everybody all the time, but the world is not perfect, and neither are we.
No.
We're working on it.
We're working on it.
Yes.
We're working on it. Yeah, because I'm on campus and because I'm part of the university community, I think campus mental health is one of the big issues where we can be really useful and maybe really impactful, and having opportunities to reach more students with just normalizing the people-plant connection, so that it's a tool that they reach for whenever they're starting to feel stress or starting to feel their mental health maybe not in the place that it needs to be for them. And understanding there are lots of different tools. You could do talk therapy, there's medication, there's, if you have the means to go on a vacation and get away from it, there's lots of different things, but nature is something that's accessible, especially on campus, to everybody in some capacity. So whether it's helping people plant, a little succulent in a 2-inch pot so that they have a plant to take care of in their small spaces where they live, that's something. Having them understand exactly how to get out here on the bus and get themselves back to campus so that can be part of their weekly routine.
For sure.
And just spend some time out on a beautiful day like this.
Yes.
It has incredible benefits for helping just access that part of the nervous system that helps us stay calm and helps us get calm when we're not.
Very good. What are some of your favorite types of programs to do? What are things that really kind of light you up and make you happy, and things that you enjoy doing?
Yeah, I love doing the outreach programs to the counties. I've been invited a number of times out to several North Carolina counties to help educate the newest class of Master Gardener volunteers, and being able to share the potential for what they could do with therapeutic horticulture in their counties is just amazing. And we always end with a hands-on activity so that they can start the wheels turning and start thinking about how they might introduce plants into their community and introducing that connection to the people that they're working with. It takes, like we were talking about, a garden group, it can take it to the next level if they add that layer of intentionality. And having a few of them take the courses so that they have all the information, they can be leaders of their group in that way. And just being able to share that with people in person is a delight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a fun thing.
Yeah.
What are the best parts of your job?
The best parts of my job are when I have students who have finished the program come back and tell me what they're doing. It's amazing to just hear what is going on out in the world after people have taken the program.
For sure, because you're there sowing the seed, but you're not sure what's going to sprout or what the impact will be.
Right. It's and just hearing from them is incredible. We've had a project with the partnership with the Botanical Garden in Chapel Hill, translating a couple of our courses into Ukrainian.
Oh.
And there's a group of practitioners in Kyiv that have taken our courses, some of our best students ever. And they're working with the botanical garden in Kyiv with refugees and with veterans to help them reconnect with nature, deal with some of the trauma of being in a war situation.
No kidding.
And I don't know how much everybody knows about Ukraine, but it's a very agrarian culture.
For sure.
Yeah.
Growing things is just sort of baked into their culture, like it maybe isn't in the United States. So unlike us, they take it for granted that we should be connected to nature. Yeah. Even these people that live in a very urban environment, they have balcony gardens. It's normal to be around plants.
The Ukrainian flag has the yellow on the bottom and the blue. The yellow is a field, of plants, and the blue is the sky. Like it is fundamentally agrarian.
It is literally baked into their culture. And having these practitioners who were they were mental health professionals that wanted to add that layer of intentionality. It was just a natural. They just took to it as if, and they asked us if we could translate the course into Ukrainian. So we got a volunteer team together, and between we're not Ukrainian speaking, but they are. So between all of us, we got a couple of our courses translated, and now they're able to train people in their community with our materials, and it's amazing to see what they're doing.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Yeah.
Was that like a difficult process? And I mean, like, were there like a lot of cultural boundaries that you had to overcome to make that translation? Or did you just find out that plants are pretty universal and it was pretty easy? So
we left spaces for them to insert their own fauna into the program.
Gotcha.
Marigolds. We all have marigolds. So I thought that was amazing.
Who doesn't?
That's a really culturally important flower. It's the yellow on their flag. So so we grew marigolds kind of in their honor last summer to say we're thinking about you all. And but having them insert their own plant examples, but the concepts are universal.
Gotcha.
The people-plant connection is universal, and just helping them think through what it will take to go from theory, from the evidence, from the research, to how they would implement that in their community with, frankly, very limited resources at this point.
Honestly,
it's been an honor to be able to help them access this material so that they can go on learning.
What a small world.
Yeah, honestly.
To do work like that. And again, that community. And that's, to me, that's one of the silver linings of COVID was how easy it is to pull together something, to use this tool called Zoom.
Yep.
And YouTube, and be able to do these things and broadcast the stuff and kind of throw it out there. I'm always amazed at, when I travel, the number of people that have watched these programs all over the place and will come up and say something about it. But that's a perfect kind of a cap to some of the stuff that you've done. And that's an audience that I never would have thought of, but it just makes so much sense.
Right.
And I'm thinking of 100 other ones that could benefit from stuff like that. I have burned through my questions with rapid succession.
How convenient, because our audience has given us a couple. So
Good.
Carol says, I think a group that really benefits from therapeutic horticulture are the elderly who live in assisted living facilities. Can you talk about how important therapeutic horticulture, it's people who don't have access to gardens or the outdoors?
Yes. Carol, thank you for that question. I have a 30-plus year history of working with elders as a social worker. And my very first internship as a social work student at Auburn University in Alabama.
War Eagle.
My very first internship was at an assisted living facility that had, it had apartments facing on a concrete courtyard with a few shrubs and gravel. And it was bleak. It was bleak. It had midday sun, and it was just, people wouldn't come out other than to go to meals. And why would you? That was just, and this was, Alabama has almost year-long growing. All these people had come from where they had at least grown their own food, if not ornamentals, and living in a place where they open their doors and they see gravel and a few shrubs. It was awful. So I had the bright idea to, could we put a garden in there? And I did not have the language to say, can we start a therapeutic horticulture program back then?
No kidding.
But that's what it was.
Yeah.
So we got all these folks who were fairly mobile. Some of them used mobility like walkers, but everybody was pretty mobile. They were so interested in growing. We made a plant list. We started plants from seed. We got things going. We got their families involved. We had a meal at the end of my internship before I graduated and moved on to my first job, where we were eating things that we had grown all winter in that garden. It was amazing. So being in a place like that, where they don't have access, they don't have their own spaces anymore, is vital. Anybody that's in a confined living space can benefit tremendously from being able to grow. When I was, before I was in my role at NC State, I worked through North Carolina Botanical Gardens and did some of their outreach work to assisted living facilities in that area. And we did the same thing. We started from seed when it was still cold out. I worked with some memory care folks in that same facility. Perfect. They were amazing. Just seeing people respond to being with plants was absolutely incredible. So, Carol, you are absolutely right. It is so important to bring programs like that into assisted living facilities.
For sure. And Holly wanted to piggyback on that question. She was wondering if you could provide a specific example of a therapeutic horticulture activity that might be done with the assisted living resident.
Yeah. So if it's an assisted living that is freestanding, you're going to have different skills and different abilities in that group. You may have people that are able to walk and stand and bend over, and maybe they just need a little help. And then you'll have people that use mobility devices. Regardless of that, having raised beds can be really helpful. If you've got access to raised beds, that makes it a lot more accessible for people.
For sure.
There's a ton of information online about what a raised bed might look like that's accessible. There are a lot of raised bed designs that look beautiful and they're not accessible.
No kidding.
So it's a good idea to do a little research on that. But starting plants from seed as a tabletop activity, even when it's still maybe not warm outside, that's something almost everybody can participate in. Just having soil, having small pots, being able to, even somebody that doesn't want to get their hands dirty, they can write the labels. So being able to include everybody in the activity, and then watching the seeds germinate. One nice thing about working with a residential community, people live there. Right. They're there all the time. They will let you know if things are going well or not going well. And it's very helpful to be, when I've worked in places where people come in once a week, that can be really challenging because it can be 6 days before you go back, and who knows what you're going to find. In a residential community, there's somebody there that you can deputize to help take care of plants. And oftentimes it's some of the residents, they take ownership because they've raised those little babies from seed.
For sure.
And it's a wonderful experience to have a growing season with a residential group like that.
And I love, it's like all the specific activities you have, they seem so simple and so oh, you just do it and it's done. But it's not so much about do it and it's done. It's really like the process. It's
always the process.
Like how you're saying about the volunteer who comes for the socializing aspect of it. Maybe they didn't get as much done, but that's not the point.
That's not the point.
That's not why we're here. We're connecting with nature. We're connecting with ourselves.
Yeah. Again, the gardening group has to get the whiteboard finished. They need to check everything off. That's a gardening group.
Yeah.
A therapeutic horticulture group, we may not get past the first item on the whiteboard. That's also fine. One of my favorite quotes, it's in all my slide presentations, is from Lao Tzu. It says, nature does not hurry, but everything is accomplished. And that's just a really...
That's very good.
It's just an important idea to keep top of mind in therapeutic horticulture. It's all going to happen. It may not be on the timeline that we thought.
Absolutely.
But as you were saying before, you come into the space and you have an activity idea for the day, and that may happen, but it also may not. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Whatever does happen is valuable, and people will let you know what they need.
Yeah. Whatever we get done is a gift. So,
for sure. Yeah. But even if we don't accomplish the things that we wanted to accomplish in the garden, we are developing a beautiful community here at the Arboretum, and that is as much a part of us as the plants are.
So. Yes. And the assisted living place that I have in mind. If you were to interview the people that were there, they would be able to tell you that we went off script so often because somebody would ask a plant question, and this is horticultural science right here, right? So like you want to know about plants? I've got some information. And we would have a back and forth, and 45 minutes later, it's time to clean things up. But we had all learned something really exciting about the plants that we were working with. Yeah. And that's valuable. That's building relationships. It's building knowledge. It's lifelong learning. Yeah. It's never too late to learn more about the plants that you love. So these were just all really valuable experiences.
No kidding. Definitely.
And the plants grew whether we did everything on the list.
Yes, they do that, don't they?
They really do.
Yes. Okay, Stephanie was wondering, are there groups for learning or networking that you know of in upstate South Carolina?
Upstate, yes. Stephanie, thank you for asking. Carolina's Horticultural Therapy Network, CHTN.org. Look them up. It's Carolinas for a reason, because it's North and South Carolina. I'm the immediate past president. I'm still on the board for that amazing group. I owe my career in therapeutic horticulture to CHTN. They're an amazing group of people. They will, they're just not because I'm in them, because of who else is in that group. It's a wonderful group of practitioners, of people that are just interested in the people-plant connection. You don't have to be working in the field to join, and we have free online workshops about every other month now that are wonderful for professional development and continuing education. We are meeting out at Bullington Gardens later this summer for our annual conference, which is one of the most beautiful places in the state. And they have a horticultural therapy program on site that is incredible.
In the mountains.
It's in the mountains. Yes. It's in Hendersonville.
Yes.
And our current president of CHTN is the brand new director there. So Greg Stivlin is our host at Bullington. Yeah. But CHTN, Carolina's Hort Therapy Network, is your answer for that.
Beautiful.
Love to have you join us.
Absolutely. And that's all the questions we have for now. Y'all can ask more if you have more, but Amy did bring a beautiful little mobile plant
wondering.
Cart. Yes.
But my guest stars here haven't had much to say until now. So I thought what we could do to finish up, and if we have more questions, we can work those in, is maybe walk us through a little activity. And this is my mobile herb garden. So if you've been to the North Carolina State Therapeutic Horticulture website, this shows up every so often in the articles. The plants are different. I have maybe a cast of 10 or 15 that I can choose from. But I like bringing this when I go places. So when I go to outreach events as a speaker, anything in extension, this little herb garden comes with me. And I like it because, it's portable. It's completely portable. It's not too heavy.
I like it because it's adorable. Can we just get that out of the way first?
Yeah. Every part of it. Thing.
Yeah.
I love the metal. I like the color of the handle. I like the little mesh. It's perfect.
Yep. So I found that everybody asks where I got this. It was from a thrift store. So there's no brand on it. Go thrifting. You never know what
it's very unique.
Absolutely.
It is super unique. But I remember seeing it and thinking, I think they had like seed packets in it in the store. And I thought, I have seed packet storage, but I might be able to put 3-inch pots. And sure enough, it's perfect for that. And I can keep them in here if I'm traveling for the weekend somewhere. We can take the pots. So these are just little 3-inch pots. They pop right out, and we can pass these around a whole group and have a therapeutic horticulture experience. So what we're talking about in a lot of times in therapeutic horticulture, we're trying to engage as many of the 5 senses as we can.
Sure.
And what that does is we're all talking right now. We're learning together. We're using our minds. That's a very good thing.
Yes.
But we want to engage the rest of our body as well. That's how we get the parasympathetic nervous system back online. So a little bit of the theory behind that. Yeah. We have the sympathetic nervous system, which sounds wonderful. Sympathy, sympathetic. It's the fight or flight part of our nervous system. Sympathetic is the one that when a bear comes around the corner, we all get up and run. That's the sympathetic nervous system kicking in. We would not be here if we didn't have that. It's
Absolutely.
what makes us hit the brakes when we're about to run into somebody. So, I mean, it's important. We don't want to take it offline completely. However, we don't want it to be engaged when we need to be calm and relaxed and paying attention to things. That's when we want if you think of it like a seesaw, both parts cannot be engaged at the same time.
Totally.
It's not possible. So it's a seesaw. We want to balance it. We want to be vigilant so when the bear comes around the corner, we're not just waving hi to the bear.
For sure.
But we want to be able to be relaxed and calm and able to take what life throws at us.
And make good decisions.
Make good decisions.
Yeah.
So what I always tell people is the plants, therapeutic horticulture is not going to solve your problems.
Right.
But what it will do is help you reset so that when you go back to whatever your problems are, you are better.
There you go.
are in a better place, in a better frame of mind.
Yeah.
And what seemed like a mountain is just going to be, a little hill that you can get over pretty easily. So anyway, so this little mobile herb garden helps people start to see what that might look like. So these are all sensory plants. Many of them are culinary herbs. So we've got oregano right here. We have lavender that is just starting to form some buds, which is nice. We have some chamomile, which will form the little daisy-like white and yellow flowers, and we could make tea with that later in the year. We have chocolate mint, which is a favorite. We've got purple sage, which is not the best one for culinary, but boy, does it smell good. And we have Tulsi basil back here, which is kind of hiding. So I thought for our little experience here, we can work with the Tulsi basil.
Sure.
So it's called holy basil. In some, you'll see it written down as holy basil. Tulsi means incomparable in Sanskrit.
Oh.
And so everybody that's had Italian food, delicious Italian food, you've had culinary basil before. Sure. And that's got that slick leaf that this one is really different. So I'm going to pass that to you, and I'll hold the table so we don't lose our mobile herb garden. But you'll feel that has a fuzzy, it's like living velvet almost.
It smells good too.
And when you rub the leaf a little bit, you'll feel the trichomes. Trichomes are little hairs.
For sure.
And inside those little hairs are the oil that releases the oil. What does it smell like?
It's lemony and delightful.
Lemony and delightful, yeah. So it has, people say lemony, people will say I can smell a little bit of basil, which you can.
Yeah.
And some people say that they'll smell a clove-like smell.
Totally.
That seems right?
For sure.
The lemon really comes through.
Yeah.
Almost like lemon balm.
So what you're smelling is eugenol. Eugenol.
I thought that's what that was.
Yeah. You were right. Yeah. So eugenol is it's a compound that our bodies take in, and it relaxes us. It calms us. It activates that part of our nervous system that helps us to calm down.
Definitely.
So it would be nice if we could all take a spa day when we are having a rough time, but sometimes we just need a moment with the plants, and you can have the same effects.
Definitely.
Unfortunately for the spa, it would be great if we could just drop everything and go relax for the day, maybe outside. But if you can't, having just a moment with an aromatic plant like this can be really amazing.
For sure. And
really,
like the breath is tied into that too. Like I'm sitting there smelling, and
You're
like
smelling
breath work. It's one of those things we take for granted, but I don't know if you knew this, but if you stop breathing, it doesn't work.
Doesn't work
Not
too
good.
well.
Not too well.
We don't recommend it.
Yeah, but just reminding yourself to breathe, it's all part of it.
Yeah, and you all on camera can't smell this, but the plants smell amazing. So they're all releasing their wonderful oils. We could take a bite, and try the chocolate mint. We'll do that when we pass that around sometimes, or people will pinch off a little bit of oregano. The basil can be propagated very easily by just cutting a stem and putting it in some water. And
for sure.
2 weeks later, you've propagated something. That's a wonderful tabletop activity that you can do. So that's just a small hands-on activity. And I wanted to bring this little hand basket so that you can see that you can have something that's this small. I mean, you can see we're normal sized people. This is tiny.
Right.
It can fit into almost any space. So if somebody
it's the perfect briefcase.
Yeah, exactly. But if somebody can't get up or can't get around, everybody gets to garden.
You can take it
everybody
right to
gets to have a therapeutic horticulture experience.
For sure. And
this way.
it's a small thing of plants, and we just took a couple seconds to like interact with them. But that couple of seconds is infinitely longer than if you hadn't done it at all.
That's
like,
right.
You really can't take that for granted.
Right.
Even the smallest little bit of interaction with nature will do you a world of good if you're getting absolutely none whatsoever.
Right. Yeah.
These are good things to remember throughout the day.
Yeah, honestly.
Even in this environment.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, thank you for bringing that.
Absolutely.
That's fired off a whole bunch of ideas in my brain.
Yeah.
Love to hear that.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
No kidding. And it looks like that is all of the questions that have come in for today as well.
Wonderful.
So, Amy, thank you so much for joining us on our program today.
Absolutely.
It was
Thank
really
you for
wonderful
having me.
you. Absolutely. And thank you, Greg, for being with us too.
Hey,
you know?
it's part of the job.
No kidding. All right. Thanks, y'all, for joining us. We will be back next week on the midweek program. If I'm not mistaken, Evan and Dennis are going to be talking about Fabaceae, the bean family. So that should be fun. We will see you all next time. Y'all take care.